Here comes question 4. Roll tape, please.
Good evening. My name is Mike, and I'm from Toronto. This is a question for all the leaders. We live in difficult times, times that require leadership that is unafraid to talk about bold ideas, tell important truths, and ask something of the people of Ontario. I think it's fair to say that this has not happened in this campaign. So my question is this: why not? Why not talk about some bold ideas, tell some important truths, and mostly, why not ask the people of Ontario for the kind of shared sacrifice that will be necessary to take us through this difficult time?
Okay, Dalton McGuinty and Tim Hudak start this one-on-one debate. Mr. McGuinty, you have the first word.
Mike, I appreciate the question. I'm not sure I've ever been accused of not asking people to do some hard things from time to time. And we have done a couple of hard things in particular, and they're so important for us to keep doing. We're rebuilding our electricity system. There are some big costs associated with that. I'll give you one example. We're putting a new tunnel underneath Niagara Falls. It's 10.2 kilometers long. It's going to deliver clean electricity for 100 years. Well, it costs $1.5 billion, and it just happens to fall to our generation to get that done. We've also adopted the HST. Not an easy thing to do, but the fact of the matter is helping us catch up to 140 other countries around the world that have that kind of a tax. So our businesses, when they compete in the very competitive global economy, aren't doing so with one hand tied behind their back. Again, my colleagues here say they're against the HST, but they're going to keep the HST. And of course, we could not have done this without Mr. Hudak's support, based in Ottawa through the federal Conservative government. Now, those are hard things. We've done them. We're doing them, and it's really important that we keep moving forward because the global economy is looking for a place that is safe, secure, and stable.
Mr.
That's
Hudak.
what we have here in Ontario.
Well, here's where Mr. McGuinty and I strongly disagree. It's not a hard thing to increase taxes. It's the easy route, and one that Dalton McGuinty has taken time and time again. And why is it that your big ideas always end up costing average families? Your big idea for the HST was a big tax grab. You put 8% more on the basics like heat and hydro. Your big idea for the smart meters has made it very difficult for seniors, for shift workers, for small businesses. Mr. McGuinty always says that we need to tighten our belts, but he never tightens his own. Government spending has gone up by 80%. He's trying to run a government that tries to be all things to all people. So what does leadership mean in Ontario today? It means setting priorities. It means focusing on job creation. So we're the best place in all of Canada to find a good job. And I'm darn proud to say that I'm the son of immigrants who came to Ontario barely speaking a word of the language. Only a few dollars in their pockets, but they believed in this province. It was a place of hope and opportunity. And as a father of a little girl, today, I'm where we're off that track. I'll make Ontario the best place again in Canada, take a good job, a ticket to the middle class, and raise a family.
A couple things on that score. First of all, I'm with Bill Davis on this. He says it's unbecoming to run down our province. He says we're the best in Canada in terms of our economy, our health care, and education, and I agree with that completely. Now, the question was about bold ideas. Well, you can't get much bolder than saying we're going to be the first in North America when it comes to producing clean energy technologies. I mean, think about what we want to leave to our children. Do we really want them to say 20 or 30 years from now, why can't anybody do anything about those international oil and gas prices? We can't. Every time we buy oil and gas here in Ontario, we're creating jobs elsewhere. Every time that we invest in clean energy technologies here and buy energy from renewables, from the wind and the sun, we're creating jobs here in Ontario for our kids. We know the world is going there. Let's get there first. At some point in time, American moms and dads are saying, we've got to stop burning coal. We've got to start buying clean electricity. And we're going to have the technologies and the manufacturing capacity in place. That's my vision. I think it's a bold one. I think it's within our grasp, and I want us to keep moving towards that.
Mr. Hudak.
The problem is it's a borrowed vision that has failed elsewhere. When other jurisdictions tried the Green Energy Act of increasing hydro bills for everybody and then handing out subsidies to a few, they found that for every job created, a subsidized job, it cost $1 million in subsidies to create that job. And then the jobs disappeared when the subsidies dried out. And for every so-called subsidized job you create, you lose 3 or 5 jobs in the broader economy. Now, let me ask you this, Mr. McGuinty. You said to Ms. Horwath you've criticized her plan to increase business taxes. I agree. I think that will kill jobs. But if you think it's such a bad thing, why did you do it? Why, in your first term, did you increase business taxes just as much as Ms. Horwath wants to do today, if you think it's wrong?
Well, the fact is we're reducing business taxes.
No, you increase business taxes.
We're taking
Sir,
it one
you
step
increase
further.
business taxes.
We're taking it one step further, in fact. Let's talk about small business, because they are the the champions when it comes to creating jobs here in Ontario. We started off with a small business tax of 5.5%. We've got it down to 4.5%, and now our plan is to take it down to 4%. The fact of the matter is there is tremendous instability in the global economy. And after California, we're the second most preferred destination in all of North America to receive foreign investment. I'm not sure how, after Mr. Hudak cancels the Samsung contract, he can go to Asia, for example, as Premier, and say, I want to do business with you people. How can he look them in the eye after he canceled a $7 billion contract, creating 4 new manufacturing plants and 16,000 jobs at the forefront of an exciting new clean energy industry?
Quick response,
It's
please.
clean
Yeah,
energy.
Let me
Mr. Hudak, quick
respond
response.
to that. I mean, you know this is a $1 billion sweetheart giveaway that'll drive up hydro bills to go to one of the biggest multinational corporations in the world. But I want to say this. You sidestepped my question. You tried to slip away. You didn't answer what I asked you. If you think it's bad that Ms. Horwath increases business taxes in her plan, why, sir, did you do so? In fact, you increased them to 14%, costing us jobs.
I want to get back to what Mike asked.
I'd like to know why the Premier thinks it's bad for you, but it's okay for him.
I think it's time to get back to what
time for
Mike
you to
asked,
commit.
and that is about leadership and how do you make the big decisions that take the bold actions. And I have to say that sometimes it's about acknowledging when you've done something wrong and changing gears to do something differently. This is the situation that both of these gentlemen continue to desire, the reduction of corporate taxes. The idea that blank checks to companies that just ship jobs somewhere else is the right track. I disagree. So I think a bold thing to do is to say it hasn't worked for the last 10 years. We've given away $20 billion and not had the jobs to come with that. So we're going to do things differently. I think it's also acknowledging that municipalities like Toronto and others, I think Mike said he was from Toronto, are struggling with the ability to pay for their transit systems, and yet we know that getting more people onto transit is a good thing. So one of the bold ideas, maybe, in fact it's something that used to be done in the past, is we're going to take 50% of the operating costs off of the backs of municipalities and freeze transit rates. That way municipalities can increase their transit systems, they can put more trains and buses and increase their routes, and people don't have to carry the burden on increased fares.
Mr.
Those
McGuinty.
are a couple of ideas, I think, that are change for the better, change that puts people first.
All right, to speak directly to Mike again, a couple of other bold ideas. We worked long and hard to secure Toyota's new auto assembly plant here in Ontario. They brought it here in about 2006. We've got a couple of thousand jobs there. And just recently they announced they're going to build their first electric
My brother
car
works
here.
there.
Well, I'm very happy for him. Beyond that as well, we're going to provide two-way, all-day GO service in the GTA and all the way to Hamilton. That's going to be great for Thunder Bay, for example, because that's where we're going to make those
Do you have a
new,
Buy Ontario
those new
policy
500,
that's going to make sure that
those
all
new
those
500
trains are
cars,
built in
all those
Ontario?
cars are already being made in Bombardier. So that's great news for the folks up in Thunder Bay. But it's also a way of improving the productivity and efficiency of our economy. They tell me it's going to be like taking 71 million car trips annually off Ontario roads. That's a big, bold idea. It's a multi-year plan. It's a multi-billion-dollar investment. It's bold, and it's essential that we keep moving
And it's also
on
something
that
that's
plan.
in our platform.
Mr.
We're
Hudak.
committed to the same.
Yeah, you know, it's
plan.
disappointing that Mr. McGuinty won't answer my question about why he criticizes Ms. Horwath for business tax increases when he increased the exact same tax at a time
Reducing
of
them.
recession. But let me tell you this. I mean, every time that you talk about any kind of jobs, there's always some big check attached. That basically meant that you taxed every other business, you taxed families, because you had to bribe businesses to come to Ontario. I see a very different approach. I want all businesses to have the chance to succeed, to hire jobs, to hire people again in our province, the 500,000, 500,000 unemployed women and men. And that's why we have a 5-point jobs plan, to create more skilled trades positions, to clear aside this maze of red tape that frustrates all kinds of business leaders, and treat energy policy as economic policy, not a social program. And we're the only party that will lower taxes to encourage spending in our economy again to
Ms.
create
Horwath.
jobs.
But Mr. Hudak, it was your failed experiment in the electricity system that we're dealing with right now. The mess in the electricity system is because of the deregulation and privatization. I think you were maybe around the cabinet table when that took place in Ontario. And I have to say I'm quite disappointed that Mr. McGuinty has followed on the same route. the big expense that we have in bringing renewables into our grid is that they're all very expensive private power deals. How ironic is it that we actually have a company that's owned by the public in Korea running our renewable energy system? That should be Ontario-owned energy. That should be renewables that's in the public interest, not with private sector deals that are costing us a fortune.
Mr. McGuinty.
Facts are always helpful. This is what we're doing here in Ontario with our green energy plan. We've got 2,000 large and medium-sized energy projects being sponsored by Ontario investors. We've got 30,000 what we call micro projects being sponsored by Ontario investors. These are families, these are farmers who have decided to participate in this exciting new clean energy revolution in Ontario. They want to help subsidize a little bit of the work that's taking place on the farm or help support some modest family income. And it's this very buzz of activity that is attracting big companies like Samsung who want to come here. They're bringing, notwithstanding what Mr. Hudak is saying, they're bringing $7 billion into Ontario, creating 4 new manufacturing plants in Ontario, creating 16,000 jobs over 6 years in Ontario. That's what it's all about.
Mr. Hudak.
Well, you know, there's just a fundamental disagreement here. Ms. Horwath and Mr. McGuinty believe in handing out these expensive contracts for wind and solar power up to 80 cents per kilowatt when the price of power is 5 cents in the marketplace. But any kid who runs a lemonade stand knows you can't pay 80 cents for the lemons and then charge a nickel for the lemonade. Somebody has to pay that difference. And the problem is, it's seniors who are seeing their hydro bills increase, it's small businesses who are seeing hydro go through the roof, and families. We cannot continue on this path. That's why we'll end that expensive energy experiment and make sure that when energy is added, it's a competitive, transparent basis, no sweetheart giveaways that are driving up your hydro bill.
Ms. Horwath.
The most expensive energy experiment is the one that your government brought in the 90s. But the reality is we still have over 2,000 private sector deals that are being managed by 5 hydro bureaucracies that it's costing us a fortune. I am very committed to making sure we continue along the path of renewable energy, but I think it needs to be done in the public interest. We're going to take those 5 bureaucracies, we're going to take those over 11,000 six-figure salaries, and we're going to pare that back down, and we're going to put an electricity system back together that's in the public interest. That will get our rates down, and that will make Ontario competitive again.
Mr. McGuinty.
A couple of points, if I might. Number one, I'm not saying that the hydro companies are perfect, but in fact, they've got one of the best histories in the world at ensuring that over the progress of time, during the course of our history, we always had a reliable supply of electricity. And I'm very, very proud of that. Beyond that, I want to say once again, there's a lot of instability in the global economy. After California, we're the second most favored place in North America that's drawing in foreign investment. So you can't go around, as Mr. Hudak is proposing, and cancel these big international contracts. That's going to send a shockwave through the international investment community.
Could you just cancel one in Mississauga?
We've got to make sure that
Dalton,
we continue to
cancel a contract in Mississauga just on the weekend,
so that we can expand our economy, we can enjoy more prosperity, and create more jobs.
You want to try that again?
I'll try that again. You say you can't tear apart contracts. Sir, you just canceled an energy contract in Mississauga.
No, we didn't.
One that you said was
No,
you
we
were
didn't.
champion for 6 years.
No, we didn't.
And then 11 days before Election Day, you said, well, all of a sudden, you're against it. I mean, this looks like a government that's run out of ideas and it is on the run. So how much exactly, let me ask you, how much money are you going to throw into that pit in Mississauga for your last-minute flip-flop?
We said that we would relocate.
So where's it
and
going to go then?
I said that a moment ago.
So where will it go?
We have 2,000 big and medium-sized projects and some 30,000 small projects. So you put these in place and you try to anticipate to the best of your ability where you're going to need the new electricity and when you're going to need it. In Mississauga, this is a specific case where during the course of the past 6 years, things have changed. So we've listened to the community. Right beside the location, there are now 3
What's changed is there's an election on the horizon.
condominium towers. And we have a new rule in place that says we couldn't even locate one single emissions-free wind turbine in that site. So it doesn't make sense to me if we couldn't even put up one wind turbine to put up a gas plant. So we're listening to the community. I think that's the important thing to do.
As Andrea just said, so
I think
what
leadership
exactly
involves
has
in part listening to
changed?
the community, and now we're going to relocate it to a place that makes sense.
So suddenly something changed 11 days ago. I think Ms. Horwath had a great line there. The only thing that's changed, sir, is there's an election campaign, and you abandoned a policy that you championed for 6 years. So I'll ask you again, where are you going to move it to How much is it going to cost Ontario families? And what, aside from an election campaign, changed in the
Last
last
word
week
in
and a
this
half?
segment.
Mr.
10
Hudak sees it
seconds.
as a failing to listen to people. I don't. I think leadership in part consists of listening and learning. We've made an adjustment. A lot has happened in the past 6 years. 3 condominium towers have grown up around the site.
I'm listening to the
You couldn't
executive
put a
producer who
single
says
wind
it's time to
turbine
move on.